This video is for you if you are in what feels like the final chapter of your life. If the majority of your years are behind you rather than ahead of you, if you have begun to think, in the quiet moments, in the early mornings when the house is still, about what it all meant, about whether it was enough, about what, if anything, comes next, about how to hold the time that remains with the fullness it deserves. Buddha spent the last years of his own life, he died at 80, continuing to teach, continuing to be present, continuing to offer whatever wisdom he could to whoever needed it. And the teachings he gave in those final years were different from the ones he gave as a younger man. Deeper, simpler, more distilled, more directly aimed at the heart of what matters most. In the next 5 minutes, I want to share with you what I believe is the most important teaching he gave in those final years, his final gift. Softly. The first element of that gift is permission. Permission to stop striving, not permission to stop living. Buddha never stopped fully living until his last breath, but permission to stop the specific kind of striving that is motivated by fear rather than love. The striving to prove enoughness, to accumulate enough, to be recognized enough, to resolve every unresolved thing, to be finally, definitively okay before you allow yourself to rest. Buddha said, "You are already enough. You always were." The striving that came from not believing that, from the desperate attempt to earn a worthiness that was never actually in question, that striving has served its purpose. You can put it down now. The second element is what Buddha called the completion of unfinished business. Not all of it. Some things remain unresolved in every life, and that is simply the honest nature of a life lived among other complicated humans. But the specific things, the specific relationships where something genuine could still be offered, something honest could still be said, something loving could still be expressed, attending to those now, rather than carrying them into the final silence, is the most important work available in the last chapter. Call the person, say the thing, write the letter, offer the apology, give the forgiveness, both to others and especially to yourself. Not because these actions will resolve everything, but because the attempt, the genuine, humble, loving attempt, is what clears the accumulation and allows the final chapter to be written with something approaching a clean slate. Buddha described this as dying with a light heart. Not because the life was perfect, but because nothing essential was left permanently unsaid. The third element is the practice Buddha called resting in awareness. In the final years, when the body requires more rest, when the pace of life necessarily slows, there is an invitation that most people miss entirely. The invitation to simply be. To rest, not in unconsciousness, but in the pure, simple, completely available awareness of being alive. To sit by the window, to feel the warmth of the sun, to listen to the sounds of the world without needing to engage with them, to breathe slowly and feel the extraordinary, ordinary miracle of each breath. This is not passivity. This is the most refined practice Buddha ever taught. The practice of being so completely present, so fully at rest in the simple fact of existence, that every ordinary moment reveals itself to be actually not ordinary at all. Extraordinary, unrepeatable, worthy of the complete, unhurried attention that the final chapter, freed from much of the busyness that preceded it, is uniquely able to offer. The fourth element is what Buddha called the gift of your story. Every person who has lived a long life carries within them something of immeasurable value to the people who come after. Not just the explicit wisdom, though that is real and worth sharing, but the story itself, the specific, detailed, lived account of what it was like to be this particular human being, navigating this particular time in history, making these particular choices, loving these particular people. This story, preserved, shared, offered generously to children and grandchildren and anyone else who will receive it, is one of the most profound gifts one generation can give another. Tell your stories, not just the triumphant ones, the complicated ones, The ones where you got it wrong and what you learned. The ones where you were afraid and acted anyway. The ones that show the full, messy, brave, imperfect humanity of a life genuinely lived. These stories are not just personal history. They are instruction. They are comfort. They are the living proof passed from one generation to the next that difficulty is survivable, that love is worth the risk, and that a life lived with genuine presence and genuine care, however imperfect, is a life that matters. And the final element of Buddha's final gift is the teaching on death itself. He did not offer comfortable fictions. He did not promise outcomes he could not guarantee. What he offered was this: the person who has lived with genuine presence, who has loved without holding back, who has been honest about what matters, who has contributed something real to the world, meets the end of life from a completely different place than the person who has spent their years in avoidance and performance and the desperate accumulation of things that cannot be carried forward. He said, "The mind that is at peace in life is at peace at its completion, not because death is not real, but because a life that was genuinely lived does not end with regret. It ends with a quality of completion, like a beautiful piece of music reaching its final note, that is not diminishment, but fulfillment. Not an ending that erases what was, but a completion that honors it. You are in the final chapter, and the final chapter, written with full presence, with honest love, with the courage to complete what needs completing and release what needs releasing, can be the most beautiful chapter of all, not despite its finitude. Because of it, because you finally know, with the clarity that only a life fully lived can produce, exactly what matters. And you have right now every possibility of honoring it completely. Live it fully, love it freely, leave nothing important unsaid. And trust that a life lived this way, however long or short, however smooth or complicated, is a life that was genuinely worth having. Save this and share it with every person you love who is in the final chapter of their story. Subscribe to Tathagata Wisdom, because every single day we show up with the wisdom that helps you live and eventually complete the one extraordinary life you were given with the full depth, presence, and grace it has always deserved.